Hello, all you beautiful beings of light, you wonderful souls having this great experience here on the earth. I hope it's wonderful for you. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Claudia. This will be the 5th chapter of my life and this with the Spirit calling. And this is my journey of awakening to the Spirit within and the guidance that's there available to everyone. So first of all, I want to thank you for joining me. I hope that you will like and subscribe so that we can share this information more broadly and get the word going around the world that you are light and love and so much more. So chapter 4 ended with me not being able to see my son as I left on this new leg of my journey and a move that I made without him. And so we begin with preparing to leave. So the week flew by without the possibility of seeing my son. His dad sat steadfast, holding his fear, and my son, old enough if taken to court, naturally wanted to stay in the familiar with his friends. My heart ached for him to be at peace, and I knew only time could do that. By Saturday, my brothers were over early to help load the truck with what I would be taking to a place I hadn't as yet secured. I had no home, no job, no knowledge of what to expect. Something was there for me, but what remained the question unanswered. That was the extent of what I know. While loading and directing the brothers, I waited, hoping and watching for my son all morning. He didn't come, and I didn't push it by asking. As I pulled away, the last thing I saw in the rearview mirror were the brothers all waving. Looks of curiosity and concern filled the crevices on their faces. Then I saw the cozy brown house with the beautiful flowers and the big maple my boy had gotten stuck in. This was where my little family had called home for a few years. As I slowly moved forward, I thought about the great and some not so great neighbors that I called friends, regardless. I thought about the time we'd recently moved in. Hearing a ruckus, I went outside to see my son, face up on his back on the ground with the neighbor on top of him, the neighbor girl on top of him, beating the daylights out of him, or the crap if you prefer. Other kids were standing in a circle around them, obviously caught up in the frenzy, yelling, hooting, and hollering. When I arrived simultaneously, the girl's mother arrived and began pulling her daughter off the helpless victim. All the kids saw me and began dispersing. It was our introduction to the neighborhood. Driving past their home as I left, I said silent blessings for my friends' family's future. I rounded the first corner and glanced again in the rearview mirror. The base and lower branches of that huge maple came into sight just as a sudden breeze caught the branches and leaves, sending twirly birds spinning on the ground. I felt warm and serene as if the breeze was at my back, providing an assist in moving forward and onward into my new life. Tears began to well and pool, blurring the road for a moment, and my heart felt constricted at the thought of my son. He was the only thing that I felt missing, where a hole was growing in my heart. By now he would be wondering what had come over his mother. He felt so young to me in those moments. The fiercely protective mama hen welled up in me. But I'd been shown that this was their time. My 12-year-old possessed untested strength, which I had seen firsthand. He was a very mature, if young man. I sent him a breeze of my own, of love to surround and enfold him as I moved forward. beside motherhood doesn't just disappear. Like loving kisses which cannot be wiped away, motherhood is a forever thing. Then there was the realization that his dad was still worried and fearful that I would run off with him. His dad had made a conscious decision to keep him from that potential. One more realization of how little we knew about each other and how quickly trust disappears. Within a few blocks, the sadness dissolving by excitement and curiosity. It did not behoove me to dwell on what was block by block becoming the past. There were so many questions waiting to be answered, and I couldn't deny the feelings of the presence of those loving unseen arms that held me as if I was wrapped in the down comforter that had been around me at Sun River. Faith was the operative word that kept coming into my mind every time I thought of changing course and backtracking. My faith and trust were so strong that the peace that surpasses all understanding came like waves into every cell of my body, where it stayed for many miles. From the very depth of my soul, I was in absolute knowing that I was in good hands. Life is a journey of faith. With each passing minute and mile, my mind was so full of what possibilities lay before me that, with effort, I kept drawing myself back to the road ahead. But with every thought of what had been left behind, what had been set in motion for my son and his dad, I sent out thoughts of love and hope of forgiveness and positive outcomes for us all. I had no idea of what lay before me, only that I'd been directed to trust in what I couldn't see when presented with the unknown. You may prefer the word guided, as we all have free will. However, when our inner being knows or feels strongly something to be a good and right path or direction for us, one that is without logic or rational thought even, then we would find a way to take it. We will make it happen. In my case, my soul knew this to be something I was meant to do. It was my Indiana Jones moment, giving over control and taking a leap of faith. You may remember Indy was searching for the Holy Grail when he came to an obstacle which he needed to make a decision to proceed or not. He closes his eyes to block out the chasm before him and the fear, and takes a leap of faith, stepping onto what can't be seen or where it is leading. I read somewhere that with faith in God, also the unseen, that in taking that leap of faith, one of two things is true: that we will be given wings to fly, or that we will be given something safe to land on. I sincerely hoped, I suppose, I was even beginning to trust that either one of those was accurate. Thinking back, what else was there but fear, which never entered the equation once I understood and knew. I'd always felt the definition of faith for me simplified to be the belief in God or anything else we know with inner certainty, but without the proof to be true. I recall a conversation I had once with my youngest brother. At the time, he was struggling with his faith and intimated to me that he wasn't sure there was a God. A gay man with AIDS, and in the heart of the struggle for humanity's learning to love regardless of age, gender, partner, he spent countless hours with those dying of the disease. He showed blessed compassion for those whose families had disowned and locked their doors to them. Coming to my mind was my own struggle some years before when my religious faith was challenged by doctrines which I no longer felt to be God-given. That too was an inner feeling or nudging. It's what led me to explore other possibilities in spirituality, which in turn led to my personal quest for spiritual truth. God, my Holy Grail. What I said to my brother, God became my Holy Grail, What I said to my brother then and remains true for me today, I've said it countless times, was that I thought that he, my brother, felt that there was something bigger and much greater than him or me at work out there, and that benevolent being, thing, energy, great spirit, universal oneness, or whatever it was looking out for us. He thought about that, and when he agreed that he could accept that description, I also suggested to him then that we humans lacked sufficient language to express what that benevolent something was. That he could make up his own word that would describe this magnificence, that God didn't care what you called him. He only cared that we try to find our way home to him. And it was his relationship, your relationship to God that mattered. Rolling down the road, my thoughts continued. Our lives from birth to the present and beyond are a study in faith on a daily basis. We have faith that we're going to wake up, that our bodies will take a breath, and that upon waking our eyes will open, our hearts will pump, and that we'll be able to think clearly. We'll be able to get out of bed and move and take a shower and brush our teeth and eat breakfast. We know not with certainty what the rest of the day will bring or any moment in it. We simply trust. We trust that the job will be waiting for us, the lunch we've prepared to taste like it always does, and so on. We have faith that our jobs will allow us to pay the rent, buy groceries, put gas in the car, and buy the necessities for our spouses, partners, and children, or so on. You know the list is endless. Faith is the operative word. As children of God, our breathing, physical abilities or limitations, compassion and humanity for each other and the planet could be all considered gifts. We may not see that to be true, but when I'm struggling to see the good in a bad situation, Yeshua and Mother Teresa always come to mind. Still rolling down the road, in this situation, I recalled when my baby brother was dying of AIDS some years after our God conversation. I was told by a dear friend that Mother Teresa thought that God's children with AIDS were his most favorite and beloved, for they had his hardest work to do, that of teaching humanity unconditional love. My brother died in 1993, and we humans are still working on it. Suddenly, I was back in the driver's seat, already approaching the first of 5 mountain passes that lay on the road ahead. Towing my car was something I'd never done before. And although driving was almost entirely on the interstate, it was slow going. I figured it would be until I became more familiar on how the equipment handled and trusted that my car in tow was truly secure. I pulled into an Eastern Spokane motel with an illuminated vacancy sign just this side of Idaho. It was almost 9:30, the sky losing what little light was left as the sun retreated into dusk. Feeling my dad's presence, finding a pull-through spot beneath a street-type lamp. The car and truck were secure enough against thievery, and I would rest easier. I'm not inclined to be fearful, but also knew that being on the side of any deterrent to mischief would be good. I walked around the vehicle, making sure I was parked with boundaries and not obstructing others who might be driving through. Checked the doors and padlocked to the door, holding my worldly possessions. Heading inside, I should have been hungry, but wasn't. Road weary and likely more stressed than I'd admitted to myself. All I wanted was a room, a swim to work out a few of the unheeded kinks which had set into my hips, and a good night's rest. The apples, crackers, and cheese still on hand from my lunch supply would work as my evening meal. Close to 400 of the 1,000 miles to the trip were behind me. Thoughts, dreams, and rampant imaginings of a wondrous life filled my head. No matter how I tried to relax, I barely slept a wink. At 2:30 a.m., after 2 hours of sleep, I knew that the effort to sleep was useless. I was simply too excited. I dressed in yesterday's clothing, brushed my teeth, combed my hair, gathered my things, and performing one last sweep of the room, left at 3:30 a.m. I could hear my dad's voice going through a checklist as he did his best to hide his concern. Outside, the sky dark, and I couldn't see stars for the light shining down from the pole. I walked around the parked vehicle, and even though it had only been a few hours, at the moved truck, I shook the rear door lock for security's sake, checked tire inflation, looked for scrapes and other damage. Thank God none apparent on both vehicles. With nothing to report, I climbed into the driver's seat of the truck, locked the doors, and started the engine. I checked the gauges first thing, noting fuel would be my first order of business. On the way off the freeway coming in, I noted the intersection I'd gotten off at. There were two 24-hour stations and still well lit. My dad, a fuel dealer, made my selection easy, and I'd be able to get a cup of coffee there. I then placed my small travel cooler within reach and got out the map. No signs of sunrise for a few more hours. The map I was reading showed the first pass ahead to be 4th of July, just to the east of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, maybe 50 miles to the summit from my present location. I was unusually calm and excited at the same time. Taking a deep breath while turning to my Catholic heritage, I said the Our Father prayer, glanced once more back from whence I'd come, then to the east ahead. Barely 10 minutes had passed as I pulled slowly forward and found my way to the freeway. Decision made that I didn't need coffee until I stopped for breakfast. My son, dear God, what have I done leaving my child? There it is again, without words, my inner being filled with thoughts of without words. My inner being became filled with thoughts of new beginnings for everyone and a rewarding new life full of surprises for me. I was calmed. I since then felt that comfort and peace I could never begin to describe as it traveled down the interstate with me. Without explanation, I simply knew this to be the right decision for everyone. Why, I didn't know. Although occasionally doubt would creep in, the answer remained the same, something I was just learning to trust, that everything was in divine order. I had set into motion a chain of events that would impact more people than even I was aware of. I sent a quick prayer of gratitude to heaven, followed by a message of love to my son, imagining filling him with a feeling of abundant love and mother's kisses. Excitedly eastbound I-90 looked mighty fine as the road to my destiny lay to the east was all clear. Thank you. That was the 5th installment of this book, and I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave comments. I'm really relying on those to know whether to go forward or to backtrack here. But I thank you so much for listening, and I hope that you did enjoy it and that you find a little of your own inspiration or remembrance to move forward on, things to think back on, and and maybe some unresolved things, who knows. Well, I appreciate again. Thank you for joining me here today. I will see you in the next installment. The next uploaded video will be, let's see, 6. This was 5. Yes, so it'll be 6. I thank you for watching. I love you this much, and that's the truth. If you like what you've seen, be sure to like and subscribe, share it with your friends. Enjoy talking about resolutions from the past. And if you want to know more about me, you'll find it down below. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.